Are you wanting to create your own floral designs that you can incorporate into any image? Then keep watching, because I'm going to show you how to turn this simple pumpkin SVG file into this floral pumpkin, and it's super easy. Hi, I'm Sarah, this is Extraordinary Chaos, and I'm the crafter and designer behind this channel, and I'm here to help you master your Cricut and learn the basics, which includes designing your own files. And today we're going to look at this gorgeous autumn and fall pumpkin, and I have made this all from free shapes in Cricut Design Space. So I started with a pumpkin. You can start with any shape, but if you want to make the pumpkin, then you need to check out the video linked above, and I will show you how to make this pumpkin out of circles. Once you've got your pumpkin, you can create this floral pumpkin, and it's super easy. What we're going to do is we are going to hop on to Design Space in a minute. If you haven't already got the pumpkin or created the pumpkin, and then just start with a simple star outline or any outline, and I'm going to show you how to make the pattern and incorporate it into a design so that you cut off all the edges, and it's really easy. I've used all three shapes from Cricut Design Space, and it doesn't take that long. It's just about having a bit of imagination and building the shapes and the patterns. So let's jump onto Cricut Design Space and let's get started. So we're going to start by going into the image search bar. We're going to search flower. So if you have free access, then you can use whatever you want, but I haven't. So I'm looking for anything without the little green Cricut access sign in the corner. So I've got a flower here. I'm not going to choose loads. I just want a few different things. So I'm going to go for vine now. And again, this one hasn't got anything in the corner, so that means that that's free to use. And I'm going to stick for free images because I don't have Design Space access. Now this is a linked image. So I'm just going to remove the contours off one side because there's a gap in between. And then we're going to keep searching. And we just want a leaf. So it's just about finding the right, this one's quite a good one, I think. Because what we want to do is, that's not exactly what we want, but I'm going to show you how to get an outline. And then that would have been perfect, but no, that's a Design Space Access one. So once I've got everything I want, this one is very similar to the one before, but it's welded together. I'm then going to go in and I'm going to search for star because I know that I've uploaded my own star. So I've grabbed that and I'm going to grab a moon. Just because this is a Halloween project, I want some more atmospheric elements too. And now that I've got my elements, what I want to do is I want to create some outlines with the two solid ones. And I want to make sure that all my outlines are very similar. So I'm going to add an offset to my flower and slice that out. And that is going to give me the offset that I want. Now I'm going to do the same with the leaf. So click on the leaf and click offset and drag the picker until you've got the exact offset you want. I want them quite chunky because it's going to be an intricate cut. Slice that out, and now I have got my leaf, and that's going to create a more interesting design. I might just create later some solid images just to fill gaps, but for now we're going to start with those. I'm going to just turn that around a bit just so that I've got a bit more detail so that everything's not just straight and uniform. And I'm going to start building my pattern, and you can see how I'm just going to build the flower, the leaf and the vine, pop the star in, and it's going to start to build up. And when you build these patterns, it's just about duplicating and repeating the pattern. So I'm going to duplicate that there, and I'm just going to drag it down slightly at an angle. And we can see there that it's starting to very slowly build into a pattern. So I'm going to duplicate it again and drag it up here. And this is more about just visually doing what works for you. So you don't have to have it perfectly symmetrical or everything having to be the perfect match repeat. It's more about looking and thinking, yeah, I like the look of that, and that's going to work with my design. Because what ultimately you're going to do is slice and weld it into another image. So this will never be the main feature. This is more just the pretty detail. So what I'm also going to do is just duplicate a few of my elements and move them out of the way. because what I might do in a minute is I might start to weld together, because what you don't want to do is knock something and lose it. I'm going to use that vine there, and again tilt it, pop that in, move my flower about, and it's just about jiggling things about until you're happy. Now I'm going to remove the contour in that flower, and I'm just going to pop a few of those in too, just because I want the small flower to fill the gaps, but it might be too small to cut the detail. And I hate that when you just disappoint yourself because you cut something that's just far too fine and the Cricut machine doesn't like it for whatever reason. So I like to cut an intricate pattern, but I like to mess about and work it so that it cuts well also. So again, I'm just going to use my rotate tool to move that about so that not everything is in the same direction. But I'm really pleased with how it's starting to build, so that I'm adding a few of the double vines as well, just to fit everything together. Keep spares on the side, because now we're going to weld it together. So that hasn't got it all. There you go, so it's welded. I'm going to duplicate that and put one out of the way, and then I'm going to create a very tiny offset. Nothing major, just enough to thicken it up a bit. And you can just see that it's ever so slightly thicker. I mean, it's fractional, but that is enough just for me to be comfortable that it's going to cut well. Then I've duplicated it and dragged that down there so that my two images are touching, and then I can just drag in a few elements just to fill the gaps. And you could work in a method that's so much more mathematical and organised for mine, but this just really works for me. I'm going to pop that on the outside there, and I'm going to weld that together now. So I'm going to go into weld, and there is my image. So now I can grab my pumpkin. So I'm going to duplicate one of those and put it out of the way, because you want to keep one of your versions so that if you ever want to create anything later, you could save this as autumn pattern and then come back into it later, because when you finish your project later, you'll save it as floral pumpkin. So I'm just messing about trying to size it. I'm going to pull my pumpkin in, and you can see there that it almost sits underneath. Now what I'm going to do is I want to get hold of the pattern, and this is something that I've only discovered this week, that if you can't get hold of the rotate tool, when you go flip on the corner, it just doesn't appear, but you can rotate. So you just go onto the corner arrows and start to drag, and it will drag round. So I'm just dragging my pattern around until it fits where I want. I want to see the detail of the flowers, the vines and the leaves, but I also want to fill the gaps. So I can also pop some bits in there later if there's any spaces. So now I've duplicated my pumpkin. I'm going to click this pumpkin and remove all contours. And what I'm going to do now is cut the pumpkin shape out of my pattern. So I'm going to select all and slice, and what that's going to do is it's going to get rid of anything at the edges. So what you're going to be left with doesn't really look like a pumpkin, but that will fit inside your pumpkin outline. So when I pop that there, we're just going to arrange that, and you can see that it fits in. And when we weld that, that will all work really well. But what we need to do is just fill a few of those gaps. Now I could have made my pattern a little bit bigger, but I was confident that I could do this after anyway. Now the thing with doing this is everything has to be touching. So you know that your pattern is all touching something. But when you're adding stars, or if you're going to add a vine, don't just add it to the middle. It's got to be touching an edge, and preferably touching part of your pattern as well. And then that will just flow seamlessly. So I'm now just going to add the last few elements. I think I'm more or less happy. And I'm going to spin this round. Now, this rotate tool, you can't see it anymore. And it did disappear. I'm sure it did, but I wasn't able to use it. And I just discovered the other day by accident that you can just flip on a corner and it will turn anyway. So I think this is going to take a bit of getting used to, just to find out where it works. But there you go, I did manage to flip that round. So I'm just going to pop that leaf in there, but I'm going to overlap it with a pumpkin because it doesn't have to sit in the middle. And now I'm going to make the top of the pumpkin, or a bit of a leaf, or a bit of a flourish. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just grab a shape, and I'm going to slice out the top. And when I did this, I wasn't sure what I was going to use. And initially I thought I was going to use that top bit, but I think that looks like a bit of a snake. However, when we flip this round, get rid of the bits from slicing it out. When I flip that round, so just go in the corner and drag it round. How good does that look? Now that looks perfect. That's more pumpkin-y to me and fits in with the season. Now I can select all and weld it. And we are ready to cut it out. I'm going to drag this bigger because I want to cut it. I'm going to cut it there at around 10, just under 12, because I want it to be a full-size pumpkin. And then I can send it to cut. So I'm going to cut this on cardstock. So I'm going to set it as heavy cardstock, and I'm going to cut it on more pressure because it is quite an intricate cut. And I find for me, setting it on more pressure with a green mat works. And it does take a while to cut. So what I do when I've got an intricate cut like this is I set it to go, and then I go and have my lunch. And here we go, it's all ready. To weed it, you're going to reverse weed it. Now just flip the mat over. Do not bend it in half because it does snap. I've had complaints about that. Just gently tease it off and that will come away beautifully. And this is a sticky mat. Then you can scrape all the debris off after. But look at that. It's come out really well. And how did you find that? Let me know in the comments how you got on. Did you manage to create a pattern, and what have you incorporated it into? They really are easy to create. And once you create your pattern, if you save that in Design Space as a pattern, you can then convert that into anything. It doesn't have to be this. If you look through my blog, I've got a different floral pattern to the one I designed today, slightly different, but I have made spiders, swans, I've made everything out of it, because once you've got your base pattern, you just have to incorporate it into your shape, and it is super easy. So please do check out my other videos. If you haven't seen my making pumpkins out of circles video, then check that out. It's linked above. Thank you so much for crafting along with me, and happy crafting.